So here's the question. How many of those numbers on the Wilt Chamberlain streak, how many of those were doctored up the way James Harden's just was?
Oh, that's fair.
I mean, I'm just curious.
Also harsh.
Were they fouling at the end of games so that he could get points? I wonder. We don't know that, right? I mean, we have this assumption that everything was on the up and up. Maybe
fair.
It wasn't.
We don't know.
We don't know.
That's fair.
I think he averaged 48 minutes a game.
Yeah, for sure. Never came out of the game.
No resting. I do remember, though, talking to James shortly after his 8th game in a row of at least 30 points. Like, how have you done this for 8 straight games? What's working so well offensively? Now he's done it 30 times in a row. When you reach that level, when you are on a tear the way that James Harden has been, where is your mind? What's your mentality as you take the floor?
I have no clue.
It's like, I don't know. I didn't do it. Did you see my name on there? No.
To keep it real. No, but I think that James, he made comments recently about how locked in he is.
Right.
So in reality, it really doesn't matter who they're playing, what night of the week it is. He's locked in a way that even on a night like tonight, he was 6 of 17 from 3. But he's just finding a way to get points. And, you know, Griff has some strong feelings about how he got 30.
He has the evergreen line.
You know, it is what it is.
I'm sure Oscar Robertson's big screened everybody off so he could get fake triple doubles too. I saw that.
He only
This
had
is my get off my lawn moment.
3 points in the first quarter, though. Finished with 31.
The only thing I heard in your question, by the way, Kristen, when you said you talked to him after the 8th and he's gone to 30, is that you propelled him 22 more games. That's what I heard. And all.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, you should.
So perhaps if I had been around to talk to Wilt, he would have gone 70.
Who knows?
71.
Spoken like a smart man.
There's really no way of
Like a
knowing.
Smart man.
All right, our Jared Greenberg caught up with James after the game.
Blowing a 26-point lead on Saturday night.
Wow. Don't remind me.
Was that going through your mind again when Dallas cut it to 9 tonight?
Yeah, but they're a really good team, especially offensively. You know, they can get it going. They got a numerous of guys that can shoot the ball well. Obviously, Luka's a very good playmaker. So we knew they were going to make a run. We just had to keep our composure, get some shots when we needed to, and make some big shots.
James, only you and Wilt Chamberlain have ever scored 30 points or more in 30 straight games. It took to the end of the game tonight. How much does this mean to you?
That's one of the greatest ever to touch a basketball. It's an honor to be in that conversation. Obviously, got a long way to go, but it's a start, you know. And so, try to keep going. It's a big-time win for us. And we got one more game before the break.
How much more comfortable are you starting to get once again with you and Chris back on the court together?
It's great to have him on the court. He's another playmaker, another leader out there. We were missing him during that stretch he was out, but he's back. And then hopefully after the break we can get Clint back and get it going.
One more to go. Thanks for joining us, James.
Thank you, baby. Players on.
He did it, as did the Thunder. 120 to 111, the final score over the Portland Trail Blazers. Paul George led the way with 47 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. Russell Westbrook, of course, made NBA history with his 10th straight triple-double. He passed Wilt Chamberlain. He tied him just a couple of nights ago. 10 in a row, which is actually a little surprising to me that he's averaged it for 3 seasons now and never had 10 straight. Look
Very
at
surprising.
The tweets keep coming. Laker tie. Russell Westbrook.
Even better, though, that he makes the 3 that puts PG-13 into the triple-double.
I know. I love that.
That's even cooler.
The way that those two have come together, watching the two of them play together now is really something special.
Well, and if Paul's going to go 8 for 13 from 3, you're going to get a few assists playing with him.
Yes.
It's something different to get your 10th assist on a Russell Westbrook made 3-pointer.
Yeah, no, and I think, for Russell, you know, people have to start to figure out if they want to still question whether or not guys can be successful next to him.
Right.
That's something that everybody wants to throw out there when things are not going well.
That's right.
But Paul George is having an MVP season.
If you've got an MVP teammate and you've got a team sitting in the top 3 in the Western Conference playoff picture, that argument's dead, correct?
You've got to think that it's a pretty shaky argument. And the one thing that people always cite is that late in games, their shot decision-making isn't great, and that they lose some close games. I still think there's some validity to that because Russ is so competitive. He goes blind with that competitive rage, and he's going to have a couple really bad possessions late in games. I think that's valid. But to say you can't be successful as a player with him, there doesn't seem a lot of evidence to support that.
Well, let's hear from both Russ and PG after the game.
First, I want to ask you about the win, because you clinched the series tonight against Portland. How big is this in the grand scheme of things with the playoffs coming up as well?
It's big, man. We got to take care of home court. We got some guys out, some guys injured. Guys stepped up tonight, and a big win for us.
Russell, 10 straight. Can you appreciate where that stands in the history of the NBA?
It's a blessing, man, to be able to go out and compete. Just truly thankful. Thanks to the man above for blessing me and going out and get to play the game I love. And I got some unbelievable teammates make my job easy. Those guys make my job very easy. It's my job to take a favor for them.
The fans went crazy. PG, of course, hits his 8-3 to give you that final assist. What did you think of that moment?
It was an unbelievable moment. The fans, the city, for everybody else, and I'm just happy to be a part of it and happy we got the win.
All right, thanks, Russ. We appreciate it. Hey, P, it's your turn. Okay, so Mr. Triple-Double, you get a triple-double tonight as well. Did he give you some advice coming into this one?
No. I mean, this is a great opponent that we had to face tonight. I can't say enough for the guys that stepped up during the absence of, JB and the absence of Schroeder. This atmosphere, this is kind of intensity every opponent needs to face when they step in this arena.
Paul, you hit 3 after 3. This is now 6 straight. We've had at least 5 threes and a triple-double. Is this some of the best basketball you've played in your career?
Absolutely. It's the best I felt mentally. Just keeping my faith. That's all it is. Wow, what a night.
And to be a part of Russell's history and that 10th straight triple-double, what did it mean to you to knock down that 3? I know you were excited, probably about making it and for him.
Man, I'm just excited for Russ. He's the best competitor I've seen, best competitor I've played with. He's one-of-a-kind player. There's no other person that's led in triple-doubles year after year, and he's going on his number 3. So, man, what a player. What a player, what a teammate.
One-of-a-kind player, sir, UPG. Thanks, we appreciate it. That was a fun one to watch. Back to you guys.
What a couple of players.
Oh, wow. A great shot of Paul George and Russell Westbrook from Tyler a couple ago.
He's strong.
That's funny. Very strong tweet. Very strong tweet. I think that we may have forgotten what GOAT actually stands for. Greatest of all time actually eliminates 2 from contention, but it doesn't make the tweet less funny.
You don't know which category he's talking about, though.
That's fair.
Paul just said Russell's that for teammates.
PG could be the MVP this season, but if Russ was before, it's just a younger and older GOAT.
We're going to give Tyler the benefit of the doubt all the way through this.
I'm just going to...
I'm with you, Tyler. Derek's not. How far, though, do you think that this Thunder team can go in the Western Conference?
Where I think they can go is all the way. Whether they will or not, to me, depends on some of the things that Griff mentioned about late game execution and shot quality at the end of games.
All the way as in a championship?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that in the Western Conference, because of the way that they defend, the level of physicality that they play with, and the level Paul George is playing at, they are kind of, to me, the dark horse that can stand up to the Warriors in a Western Conference Finals matchup. Adams and Cousins matching up in the middle. Paul George, if Roberson comes back, Westbrook, they have defensively, I think, what you need to try and impact the Warriors, but the execution and the shot quality offensively is what may hold them back to not get over that hump.
Yeah, and I think Schroeder's been so critical for them in terms of what he's been able to give them. People don't talk about this. First of all, I think Paul George is the most underrated superstar in our league, and I really don't think it's close. I think he's the most underrated by miles.
Wow.
This is a guy that when we played Indiana in the playoffs, and Paul George was really their only focal point offensive player.
Right.
Every time he had the ball, we thought he was making a basket. Every time he touched it late in some of those games, it didn't matter if LeBron was on him. It didn't matter who was on him. When he gets rolling, he can really score. He defends. He makes the right read the vast majority of the time. He's incredibly coachable. He's a good teammate. And we just don't talk about him all that much when we talk about the very best players in our league. And he's become incredibly prolific from a statistical standpoint as well.
Right.
I mean, tonight's game is absurd. 47 points on 26 shots, 9 of 11 from the line and a triple-double, and we just don't talk about it. And I think when you look at the Schroeder acquisition, you look at what they did in successfully recruiting and retaining Paul George, they took their tax exposure down by $70 million from where it was entering the summer, or rather after Paul decided to stay. Sam Presti ought to get a lot of love as Executive of the Year, and the fact that that's not talked about very much, also kind of surprising.
Well, we can start the conversation.
Right here. Like we
Game
did
night.
John Collins in the dunk contest.
Yeah, that's true.
We got that
Started
done,
right
too.
here. All right. Well, speaking of the Hawks, Ice Trey was in the building. Or Trey TL, perhaps. Either way, we're going to ask him. We're going to settle it. Trey Young in our studio. Next.